Thank you all for coming by here today. My name is Bobby, and with me today up here on stage, I have three exchange operators, Chiyu from Tokenize Malaysia, Kelvin from Synergy, the Managing Director of Synergy, and also Aaron Tang, Country Manager of Luno. I think we have a session about an hour for today. It's about to talk about digital asset exchanges, cryptocurrencies and all. So I think before we give this session a go, maybe give you guys a chance to introduce yourself a little bit and about your exchange, and then we go straight to the questions after that.
Okay, I will start first. My name is Xu. I'm from Tokenize Malaysia. We started quite a while back, 2 years ago, in Singapore. And last year, mid of last year, we spin off to Malaysia. And very fortunate, in June, we are one of the 3 exchanges that got the conditional approval. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kelvin from Synergy Technologies. We are Penang-based crypto startup. There's 16 of us in a company. We started our business also 2+ years ago, and when we first started, we focused a lot on trading on different platforms to try to figure out which platform we wanted to build for the market. And my background specifically is actually in market making, so I do a lot of trading within the company.
Hi, my name is Aaron, and I'm Country Manager for Luno Malaysia. Luno's London headquartered. We are in 40 countries around the world. We've been in Malaysia since 2016. We've had an interesting journey with lots of ups and downs, but really happy to be here on the panel today.
Indeed, we say cryptocurrency as an asset class has evolved very much, and it's attracted a lot of billions of dollars into the market. So I guess first thing is congrats to all 3 of you. You guys received your provisional license earlier this year. I guess for many of us in the audience here, we have a question for all of you guys. I think the announcement came out sometime in April, I think, earlier this year. And it's been 6 months, half a year. And I guess the question is, when can we finally trade on one of these regulated, approved exchanges in Malaysia?
You can start trading on Luno as of today, I think. We are trying our best to go live by the end of November, hopefully first week of December. And I think for Tokenize also, it should be around the same time as well.
Yeah, thanks, Kelvin, for the shout out. So Luno, we've been granted full approval by the SC earlier this week. So, thank you, much appreciated. So what we're doing now is going live for our existing customers. Deposits should be enabled today. And then we look forward to getting new customers on board in the nearest time frame, which is, it might be next week, but definitely within this short period of time.
So yeah, I think I keep getting questions from people like, how do I buy Bitcoin in Malaysia? And then for longest period of time, I have to say like, this is like one of the hardest question to answer. But now I can finally say like, yeah, Luno is live. You can just buy on Luno, and soon Tokenize and Synergy as well. Okay, I guess let's go straight to the questions, opportunities and pitfalls in this cryptocurrency industry. So what do you think are the factors that move the digital assets market?
Personally, for me, I think there's obviously a lot of speculation. So you see a lot of people trying to speculate when the Bitcoin Etf news, whether it's going to be positive or not. And then more often than not, they get disappointed, and then the price doesn't obviously rally as hard. I think it's quite obvious to us that for now, we can't expect the retail market to drive the next round of adoption, right? Because a lot of them were burned when the market crashed. So from an institutional perspective, if you're managing your own funds, then I think you're more likely to trade crypto, right? Because you have controls over the funds, right? But for companies like sovereign wealth funds and all that, they don't really have an incentive to trade crypto right now because it's so volatile. And if you're on the wrong side of the market, you could be your job on the line, right?
I think it's hard to point down. A lot of people often ask us, what are the fundamentals of crypto? Do you do TA? Do you do FA? I think it's a little bit early. We have to remember that crypto market is only 10 years old. Bitcoin started 2009. So unlike the stock markets where we have 100, 200 years of history where we can chart and we can do all sorts of things, with crypto it's a little bit harder to correlate factors. That being said, I think fundamentally a lot of people believe that Bitcoin is a scarce asset, it's valuable, It has proven to be the best performing asset of the last decade. So a lot of people believe in the long-term properties of something like Bitcoin just based on utility and scarcity.
For me, just my 50 cents. I think this year, the key event that a lot of industry players is looking at is the ETF, the Bitcoin ETF. If this can be a success, I think there are trillions of dollars that will flow into this market. And Bitcoin market cap is looking around 100 billion at this juncture. So there is still a lot of space and upsides to grow. And another is more technical event. We call it halving, which start from next year, May. The Bitcoin rewards, it will be reduced to half. And I think it will create more motivating factors for still speculators or long-term investors to come into Bitcoin to invest.
So who's really investing in this market right now, and why do you think these guys are buying Bitcoin or Ethereum or XRP?
Well, I mean, the active traders that I know, they're mostly the young millennials, right? Early 20s, they have many bank accounts, right? And then what they're doing is they're just simply running basic arbitrage strategies, right? So you're just taking the liquidity from Europe and selling it in a place like Malaysia where the liquidity is a lot more scarce. And they earn good money. I mean, the average traders that I speak to, they earn about 70 basis points per trade, right? I mean, if you're looking at traditional finance right now, where I think Charles Schwab announced a month ago that they're dropping commission to zero, right? The margins in this side of the business is still quite healthy.
So from our end, we see, again, a bit similar to what Kelvin said, we see the millennials, but also some of the younger Gen X, so the 30-year-olds, the 40-year-olds. I think those who have disposable income, those who are willing to try something that's perhaps a little bit more high risk than your traditional markets. And I think this is driven because people are looking for higher yields, because they may not be so confident that the stock market is going to do so well or the bond market is not going to do so well. So they're basically looking for a good performing asset. And for a lot of people, they're starting to experiment with Bitcoin.
Yep. So I think the key, if you look at the different asset class like equities or commodities, most of the asset class now, if you look at the chart, is at the peak right now. While Bitcoins, through the past 10 years, it keeps challenging the new high. So as an investor who are looking more alpha, and also, of course, millennials, they can more relate Bitcoin to the gaming, because they start with, coins, reward coins, and traded all these instruments and also items, right? So this kind of Bitcoin trading is very able to relate a lot back to the millennial generations, and they are able to adopt this easily.
Do you see a lot of miner interest, so homegrown miners operating in Malaysia and then looking to have natural sell side on your platforms?
Truthfully, not so much, but I think the bigger miners that I know, some of them are in Thailand, right? In Malaysia side, the miners that we've come across, actually, I think they're not as big, right? And some of them, you get a bit worried because, as you know, there's been cases reported where they are actually stealing electricity. and I somehow feel that for a lot of the miners, right, because we speak to some of the biggest miners in Thailand, and we've been trying to tell them that, look, why don't you pass us some of the Bitcoin, let us hedge it for you when the price is rallying. But the miners, I think, to them, they just believe that it's always going to keep going higher and higher.
So we, again, same as Kelvin, we don't see a lot of huge miners. We know a few who come to our platform. But again, I think the vast majority of our customers are professionals, they are working people, they're not really even full-time traders or anything like that.
On the contrary? Hello? Yeah. On our side, a bit different. I think since we got this conditional approval, there are few group of miners approach us. So I think they are looking at a platform in Malaysia to monetize their mining rewards. So it will be interesting to see a few months later. Yeah.
Talking about the sell side or buy side trading, we're talking a lot about young professionals, basically retail traders coming in. Do you see any institutional demand for crypto trading in Malaysia, or is this way too early, and or they just don't have the mandate, or maybe instead of institutional, maybe family offices or some of these hedge funds in Malaysia, if there's any?
I mean, they have. I've spoken to a few people where they have actually indicated interest, but I haven't actually seen them pull the trigger. The bigger traders that we have on our platform is actually those people with corporate account, right? And the reason why they use a corporate account is because when you're using a personal account to trade, there's usually a daily limit when it comes to withdrawal, right? So when you're using a corporate account, the limits are actually bigger. And some might be ICO companies who have raised a lot of money, right? But there's not that much of them in this market currently, right?
Honestly, I've seen a lot of interest from people who are exploring their own coins or their own token offerings. So there seems to be a lot of interest there. I think companies, they're speaking to us, they're like, we want to raise funding using digital tokens. We do see a lot of that. I understand that the regulations from the SC around this are coming soon, so we do look forward to that as well. Hopefully we'll all be involved in that.
Yeah, I think for previously, maybe there are not a lot of these kind of players is because they are not regulated exchanges. With this in place and with a better infra in place, I believe the confidence and also interest in family office and other fund institutional level will maybe be coming back soon. Yeah.
So just curious, like you mentioned, Kelvin, just now about the withdrawal limits, for retail and corporate. Just out of curiosity, what would be the withdrawal limits for your exchanges?
For us, I mean, when it comes, for us, it's about individual or corporate?
Both.
Both. Individual withdrawal, I believe we kept it at 200,000-300,000 ringgit, right?
Per day, per month, or?
Per month.
Per month.
Per day is about 50,000. Actually, our limits are not, I think it's quite similar to Luno's as well. I think it's kind of like in a standard.
So I guess corporate would be a lot.
Corporate will be higher for sure, yeah.
Do you have such limits on Tokenize, or?
Yeah, we have slightly lower on a daily basis, and our withdrawal is by on weekly.
We've got two levels on Luno. So when you first start a Luno account, you start with a level 2 account. So the limit for that is 10,000 ringgit a month. And then if you get close to that limit and you want to trade more, you can go for a level 3 account, which we require more KYC information. We do a bit more due diligence there. And then you can trade up to 300,000 ringgit a month. And then, yeah. Bobby.
Trade up to 300,000 in volume or in withdrawal?
Sorry. So deposits 300,000 ringgit a month. So it's capped on the ringgit side of the picture. You can trade as much as you want, but you can only put in 300,000 ringgit or withdraw 300,000 ringgit.
So just a quick question for you guys. Are you guys planning to reopen corporate accounts in the future?
That's a long-term plan. Referring to Kelvin's question, we currently open only to retail investors, only individual customers. For business accounts, just because we are relaunching, we want to take it cautious. We want to make sure everything is in line. And the reason for a little bit more difficult for business accounts is because you need a higher level, much higher level of due diligence. So it does take up a lot of time and effort to make sure. But this is in a longer term plan. Definitely we're looking at that.
So I think this answered a lot of questions that some of these guys who are looking to trade, like large traders and all, on the limits per day, per month actually. So let's talk about price premiums, right? I guess during the ICO boom or the crypto market boom back in late 2017, early 2018, in Korea, there's this thing called a kimchi premium where the BTC Korean won pricing pair was 50% above the BTC USD price in American exchanges. We at CoinGecko are quite interested to track this data. I would like to call it the durian premium in Malaysia. So I'm quite curious to hear. I guess, what do you think will be the durian premium when you guys operate in Malaysia?
Historically, for us, I think the nice term, durian premium, I think historically it was probably around 2 to 3%. So the price on Luno's exchange, if you convert it to USD, it's not going to be exactly the same as the price you Google, because there's the matter of, funds don't flow so freely. There's exchange rates and things like that. So the price on ringgit was always like 2 to 3% higher. A bit hard to predict, but if you ask me, I think it'll probably be around the same, yeah.
For us, I think probably close to 1% because we do market making within our own platform. So I mean, if the spreads were really good, 2-3%, then we'll just trade in and out, yeah.
For me, I'm a bit different view. I think as a trader, if I want to market make on the exchange, because as an exchange, we won't intervene the pricing. But as a traders who want to trade, we need to consider the forex risk. Ringgit currently is a bit on a downtrend against the US dollar. You know, it can easily go to more than 3%. So maybe we're looking 3 to 5%.
So if like,
What's your prediction, Bobby?
it's very hard to say as well. I mean, I think the durian premium, the premium that exists in every country is a function of the inefficiency of moving money, the fiat currency in and out of the current country. So the reason why Korea has a huge price premium at one point was because it was relatively hard to get money out of Korea due to some capital controls. Malaysia has some of these rules as well, so that's why.
A lot of the active traders, they use Hawala transfers. So the board rate don't really apply to them. So they can actually use money changer to move the funds out. And the rates are actually very competitive.
But I also think sometimes we need to see the bull run, because I think kimchi premium happened when the Bitcoin run from 10,000 to 20,000 range. So if that happened in Malaysia, when you see a 20, 30,000 ringgit kind of jump, I believe the durian premium can easily more than 10%.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess it's a matter of timing as well. Like when it happens, and I mean, off my head, I would say that a fair premium to pay in Malaysia for buying Bitcoin in Malaysia relative to buying Bitcoin outside Malaysia would be about 2 to 3%, nothing more than that. Anything more than that would be, I would say, too high. But that being said, I foresee there could be a possibility that because of the withdrawal limits that you guys have in place, during periods of high demand, there may be a situation where there is not enough supply coming into the market, or market makers were not as efficient, and this may drive up the premium a lot higher. Just of my thinking, you know. Yeah, but I would say around 2 to 3%. I don't have any data. I'm waiting for these guys to operate, and then we can track the prices that these guys charge relative and compare.
Come in and do some arbitrage.
And then compare it against what Coinbase, Gemini, and Kraken is charging in the US, and see.
Bobby, because you are an aggregator platform, right? Like compare, you know, US and also country like Japan, Korea. How's the premium look like, or even Singapore?
We haven't really been doing it yet, but we're just waiting. It's one of the features that we plan to add in the next couple of months or so. So we plan to track like the durian premium, for example, in Malaysia, the kimchi premium in Korea, and then the sushi premium in Japan, and a bunch of other premiums as well. It'll be quite interesting to see how the price differential is for each country, and also to see this across a period of time. During periods of high volatility, do we see the price premium increase or decrease, or does it even go negative in the sense, like, will it be a case where it will be cheaper to buy Bitcoin in Malaysia relative to buying in the US?
It does go reverse arbitrage, right? Because I mean, if you think about it, the majority liquidity pools are all outside, right? So if, let's say, assuming Malaysia is here, Europe's here, right? And the price drops sharply in Europe, Malaysia would take time to catch up to it. So if the price rises sharply, then the Malaysian side will take time to catch up to it. So it does go reverse arbitrage. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's something that we've observed as well. I don't have numbers off my head. We haven't tracked them, but like based on, so like Korea used to trade at one point at a 50% premium, and I think middle this year, it's turned on to negative premium. So it's actually cheaper to buy Bitcoin in Korea now. I can't remember if it's now, but compared to what it was than buying in the US. So this was a complete reversal of the trend that we observed like from 1.5 years ago.
Interesting.
Yeah. Let's see what some of the questions that we have. Let's talk about risk. So as an investor, want to trade cryptocurrencies, what do you think are the risks that these investors should be aware before they even get involved in this space?
Don't know why you got, okay. You looking at me, okay, I answer. Okay. So I think crypto is it's a new thing, right? I think the first thing that investors should know that it comes with risk. There's no free lunch in the world. You want high, I mean, everyone wants high returns, but low risk. Doesn't happen, right? If you want high returns, you have to be prepared to look at some level of risk. So I think, broadly speaking, I think there's a few that I can think of. First of all is kind of the education knowledge kind of thing, because crypto is not an easy thing to get into. I mean, it's new, it's not easy. So you kind of need to do some background research, some reading, some self-study before you get your hands into it. The other way of doing that is, of course, maybe you try with a small amount of money. You can start with, say, 3 ringgit, just to understand the workings of the system. So I think that's perhaps the big risk. But more than that, what we often see on our system, not just on the education, but it's very, very simple things like doing 2FA for your app, or not leaving your password written around. Because we see a lot of these sort of bad habits, and a lot of people actually do this. And unfortunately, if that happens, hackers can access your account. You'll probably get scammed, or you'll probably get robbed. And yeah, maybe you guys can elaborate more on the other risks.
For me, because like I said, when we first started, we did a lot of trading, right? So we were trading on peer-to-peer trading platforms. In fact, the first version of our platform actually looked more P2P-ish. So while we were trading on local Bitcoins and we were trading on Remitano, what we encountered was a lot of scams, such as man-in-the-middle kind of scam, third-party withdrawals, third-party deposits, and which is why we decided that it is actually better to build a centralized exchange model, right? So platform risk also, there are fake trading platforms out there. So if you have to trade, it's better to trade on, regulated platforms. At least, we report to regulators.
Yeah. I think maybe I will repeat again. I totally agree. I mean, all the investors should somehow adopt portfolio risk management. The comfortable threshold for your investment, you should only allocate like 5%, the threshold that is comfortable, and try to capitalize on the upside potential. Aside of that, I think another key thing to take note is also the liquidity risk. Because a lot of people will say, like, why Bitcoin, or why not this token? This token can go up 10,000% and so on. But there's no point if this token can jump so high, but you cannot liquidate the next day, and you cannot sell off this token. So I think on the liquidity risk, it will be a key factor for the investor to look upon too.
So touching on the point that Aaron brought up just now about saying if you have an account, you have some funds in there, but there's no 2FA, and then someday you lost your password, and then someone access and withdraw the Bitcoin in there. So do you guys have any insurance policies in place that protects users if they don't have 2FA? Or what if they have 2FA and they still manage to get hacked? Like, I think Coinbase, if I remember correctly, there's some insurance, but yeah, I just want to hear if you have any insurance in place for the users. Yeah.
I think there's 1 or 2 exchanges in the world who have insurance. I think for a while, CoinGecko advertised that they also had when they were still active in Malaysia. Currently, we are looking into that. We have not finalized any form of insurance, but I will say that when we submitted our application to the SC, they are very stringent with our security level. So we need to have the hot wallet, we need to have the cold wallet, and then any additional security measures. The SC takes this very seriously. So while we don't have that insurance policy in place yet, something we're looking at, but I think for now we are self-managing the risk with our multi-layer security.
Yeah, similar to what Aaron just said, we have a cold wallet and a hot wallet. So what's at risk is actually what's in a hot wallet, right? So our plan is to, over time, move majority of the funds, hopefully similar to the big exchanges where we can keep 98% of the cold storage offline. And then for the 2% that's on the hot wallet, which is susceptible to hacking, then I think even if we were to get a quote for an insurance to cover it, the premium, even being high, would still be more affordable.
We have custody in place, so we have insurance up to 100 million. But having said that, for 2FA, if due to user carelessness or never upkeep the security. It's not underinsured. So, but aside of 2FA, we also have email verification. So if hacker can sort of hack your 2FA, they still need to hack your email. So we have few layers of security to ensure the digital asset that our customer have will be secure.
Yeah. And I think in Malaysia, one of the other risks that a lot of people don't realize is the financial literacy is actually quite low. And I've encountered like countless number of times people who kind of make use of the MLM schemes, who make use of Bitcoin and blockchain technology, trying to disguise it as a new way of making money. No doubt, if you do it a legit way, it's quite a good way to make money. But for many of these things, it's actually quite hard for this. They just it's a scheme to try to get money off people's pocket and all.
So I think we will need CoinGecko help for education. We just have a sessions that we want to have a joint event with CoinGecko for them to promote the education. I think if you check on CoinGecko, just to do a bit of marketing for them, they do a lot of quarterly report, and all these are very useful educational material for crypto investors.
Likewise, I think the SC in our approval process, they do make us declare what's our education and awareness programs. So I think we will probably collaborate on some of this to help educate people. But maybe a word of, I guess, personal advice to anyone who's interested to try and explore crypto. I would say you actually almost have to have a bit of skin in the game to motivate yourself to learn, because it's one thing to read a blog or to listen to a lecture, but without having that 2-3 ringgit inside an actual wallet, you don't care so much to read up and learn about it. So if there's a bit of personal advice I can give is, if you're interested, you're curious, you can sign up and just try with a 2-3 ringgit. Not a hard sell, but just some friendly words of advice here.
Actually, I completely agree with Aaron. And when I first found out about Bitcoin, it was 2013 back then, 6 years ago. It's pretty complex, arcane stuff. I read a white paper. I mean, it sounds plausible, sounds logical and all. But to really understand this whole concept, the only way to really understand it was to put some money in, get it, and then move it around, and then you really find out all the ways how to secure your wallet, store them safely, and then all those other security measures. Because if you don't do them properly, just expect to be hacked, I would say. Yeah. I guess next question on risk is like, how do you guys handle AML, KYC, the KYC rules? How do your exchange comply with KYC rules, AML, CFT rules, and all the other kind of regulations? So I'm sure you guys have a lot on your plate right now.
Well, I mean, since we've been conditionally approved, obviously the cost of doing business has gone higher. So right now we actually outsource quite a lot of these features. So I believe for eKYC, we are looking at a company called Jumio. And for negative news search, we're engaging a Singapore company that does a real-time checking. And obviously, there's John Sidoli, my colleague, who's double-hatted as a compliance officer. And he monitors the deposit withdrawals and suggests limits to us when it comes to enhanced due diligence.
Yeah. Likewise, we use a combination of in-house systems. We also use some third-party applications. Some of you have probably heard of Chainalysis, Elliptic, Onfido. Onfido were giving a talk, I think, here today or yesterday, or today or tomorrow. And then we use Thomson Reuters. So there's a lot of actually solutions in the market that we can use. But I guess more broadly speaking, Bank Negara actually has quite a stringent document on what you need to do, what are the minimum requirement standards. So I guess we just need to comply to that. I mean, the cost of business goes up, but we have to comply.
For Tokenize, I mean, since day one, we operate a bit differently. We put all the KYC tools in place already. Just to highlight, we also developed the KYC with our own proprietary. So let's say the Malaysia residents' documents are stored on our so-called storage instead of third party and etc. Of course, we are also partners with WorldCheck, Ofindo, and other institutional grade eKYC. Yeah.
So I guess another question that I'm quite interested to know, and I guess to any other crypto traders, is regards to taxes. So in Malaysia, there's there's zero capital gains tax. But if I buy and sell crypto, like, are we also on zero capital gains taxes, or how should we declare any taxes?
Personally, for me, I think the closest way you can look at it is capital gain tax-free, yes, if you're holding long-term. For me, the closest, I would say anything above 6 months, because that's, I would just refer to the US standard. But if you're trading actively on a daily basis, then I believe you actually have to pay, because it's considered like a profession, right?
I believe the principle is, again, similar to what Kelvin said. It's, are you trading it as an investor? Like, are you investing, buying and selling? Or are you trading it for daily income? And I believe probably, I mean, again, the LHDA and IRB needs to give further clarity on this. But I believe if you're doing it for your personal income, additional source of income, then you should declare and pay taxes lah, as a responsible citizen.
Okay, so I'm going to go to the Slido. I guess there's been quite a lot of questions. So I'm going to choose this. Do you guys have any plans to offer margin, number one? And do you guys plan to have any derivatives on your exchange?
I'll let Luno start first.
I don't think we have any plans. I cannot recall it in any of our roadmaps right now. I'm not sure what the SC's position is on a new asset like crypto and then offering margin. I suspect the SC also wants us to be pretty cautious when we roll out something new like this. So it's definitely not on our roadmap, but who knows, when the industry matures, maybe 5 years' time, maybe we'll look at that, but definitely not for now.
I think, yeah, for us, pretty much also not for now, but we definitely very keen. We sort of already have the system in place, but we are waiting for regulation to be clear and launch it.
Yeah, I mean, truthfully, for us, there's quite a lot of futures trading platforms out there right now, and they all offer very good referral. So I think for us, we might instead just work with a platform and earn a referral fee instead.
That's quite an interesting way to think about it. I mean, I guess, especially when it comes to margin and derivative exchange, I guess this is one area which I think the regulator's role is very important. If you look at the international margin players and all, some of these guys like BitMEX are offering 100x leverage, which I think is ridiculous. Why do you even need 100x? It's quite irresponsible, because you just lose. It's a very high chance of losing all your money. And then lately, just last week, Binance Futures announced they're making 125x leverage. It's like an arms race. Everyone's trying to go up, compete against each other and offer more leverage to users. It's not a good development for the industry. It just leads to more and more people getting wrecked in crypto terms or losing money.
Yeah, I think I totally agree with Bobby. I think a lot of people misunderstand derivatives, like how the current industry structure is that they want us to gamble. But the reason that when you gamble, you lose your edge, and let's say you lose your capital. The derivative, the real instrument should be let fund manager or certain sophisticated traders to hedge it. That should be the key purpose, but I think it's a bit misused right now in the industry.
Yeah, I think if you look at Japan, like the regulators there, Bitflyer used to offer, if I remember correctly, 25x leverage, and the regulators there have kind of said that they should just tone it down to 4x leverage now. So that's quite a big development, I would say. And I would say 4x is, yeah, reasonable. Anything more than 10 is, I would say, why would you need more than 10x leverage unless you're gambling?
But having said that, I think for certain instruments like Forex, it will make a lot of sense because the volatility is not as great as crypto. Crypto at this juncture, to be honest, for the new adopters, I don't think leverage should be the tools that you are looking at right now. You should be holding positions instead of, try to leverage your position.
Trying to find a question. Yeah, here. Someone talking about Forex, actually. Someone did ask a question on Forex. So would you recommend trading crypto or Forex, and what's your rationale in terms of profit?
I think for me, because I started with Forex, trading Forex first as a retail, it's very challenging. I actually, face my margin call on my first month when I trade Forex. But for crypto-wise, let's say Bitcoin, if you hold positions, let's say you bought now around $8,000 US, the worst it can go is zero. You won't need to, you won't need to lose. So you don't need to face the situation like margin call, you have to top up capital, your position is being wiped out. I think these are the upside compared to the forex trading, which is much more challenging.
Definitely crypto, because the margins are there. And I think we were actively trading on Luno, and the returns are very, very interesting. You don't really need to understand fundamentals, right? Like if you're trading forex, then macroeconomics policy, if you don't understand, it could have adverse effect on your position, right? When it comes to crypto, you can just use the very basic strategy. If you're worried about your exposure, you just take 1x leverage and hedge out your position on BitMEX.
I guess I would approach this question from the investor perspective. I'm not a trader myself. Actually, it's funny, I work for a crypto exchange, but in my daily investments, I'm actually quite conservative. Of course, I got some crypto, but like Chiyu mentioned earlier, you can manage that risk by, say, allocating a small amount. I think trading especially day trading, is a sophisticated person's game. And perhaps you are of that level, of that capabilities, but I think for the majority of people, buy and hold might actually be a better strategy long term.
Yeah, I like that idea. I mean, people ask me like, when's a good time to buy? I always tell them like, you should dollar cost average your entry into Bitcoin. Like, I don't know when the price will go up, when it will go down. People think I have an oracle. I can tell because I run CoinGecko. I can tell the price whether it's going up or not. I can't. I just don't know. I make predictions about the future, but at the start of the year, I predicted the price will go down. But I mean, I didn't expect the price to go up in Q2, and Q3. I mean, the only way to really know is to just first decide what percentage of a portfolio that you're comfortable with, and then after that, then you dollar cost your average, your entry into Bitcoin, and then you probably build a sizable portion over a period of time. Next question over here from Slido is on trading fees. So actually the question is, how would each of your trading fees affect liquidity? But I guess before we get that, I guess I'm quite curious, like what are your trading fees on your platforms? And maybe you can tell us a little bit more about that.
We have 50 basis point on the taker side, but then we have a trading rebate. So essentially we charge 50 basis point for taker, and then we rebate negative 0.25 for maker. So if you're a taker of liquidity, you get charged 0.5%, and then the maker of liquidity actually earns 0.25%. Yeah.
We have a few theories for membership, and also we might take their trading volumes into consideration. So our trading fee can vary from 1% to as low as 10 basis point, 0.1%.
1% to 0.1 to 1%.
Yeah,
trading
correct.
fee. Okay.
Yeah.
So Luno also has a maker-taker fee. Maker fee is 0%, means if you're a liquidity provider, there's no fee for you to trade. But if you are taking the liquidity off the market, then you may be charged anywhere from, I guess, 0.5, 0.75, or 1%, depending on the volume that you have traded.
So from the sounds of it, seems like Synergy is going to be like the most competitive one. If you're a big market maker, you're going to get negative 0.25% rebate. From the sound of it, relative to the rest, which is 0.1 and 0% maker fee. But I'm also going further deep into you guys. So an exchange it sounds very sexy business to run, but it's actually a very competitive business as well. So essentially, from a user's point of view, is we just want to have Bitcoin, and it doesn't really matter where I buy it from, right? Whether I buy it from A, B, or C. So I guess maybe what differentiates like Luno from Synergy and Tokenize, and how do you plan to go out in the market, I guess?
I'll be frank, we are a fiat to crypto exchange, right? I think where things will get interesting, like what Aaron was saying, is the framework for securities token offering, and being able to digitize securities, offering it to raising capital for a small medium enterprise company. That's where I feel things will get exciting, right? I mean, if you look at it purely from Bitcoin trading, then it's not that big,
We look at it in two ways. We have one app, we have one exchange, but we almost see that the market is sort of segmenting into two separate segments. And one is the consumer app. It's almost the e-wallet kind of market, People want fast, people want easy, people want it to be simple to use. And I think that's what we want to do for our app. We also have the exchange side of things, which is perhaps for sophisticated traders. So we want to give them the best user experience, the best tools. And that's kind of how we would approach this problem. But back to Kelvin's point, I think a lot of people fail to understand how difficult it is to run a fiat to crypto operation that is regulated and in compliance with the government regulations. It's actually an incredibly difficult thing to do. So I guess, you know, there's enough space for all of us in the market. I'm just saying that it's not that we are competing to drive the margin down to 0.1% and kill each other, because the difficulty of the challenge is so huge that those people who manage to do this and to do it in a responsible and safe way will always be having business in the market.
Yeah, I think a lot of things come to educations, and the whole tractions, especially on non-crypto audience, right? I think is as high as 98%. Means that among South Asia, most of the country, there's only 2% they are considered crypto investors. So there are still a huge market that we can convert. And to be honest, like back in Singapore, you know, we have 20 plus exchanges, but we don't even need to compete, because most of them, in the end, they have to shut down because they don't have bank account. So I think it's more of how we can work together to make the industry big, rather, you know, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, the industry is still so small that, I mean, the key thing is really growing the pie and everybody benefiting at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, as long as the asset class wins, right, we all win. Right?
Yep. So, talking about liquidity in this market, like one of the questions here is, I mean, I really doubt that there's sufficient liquidity in the Bitcoin market in Malaysia. How do we plan to, do you guys plan to source liquidity from overseas, or get it from miners to source the supply, or just kind of let the market develop naturally through market makers, or yeah?
So for Luno, I mean, many years ago we started, of course, we had a market maker, but we actually seen a huge and healthy growth in the Malaysian market. I think back in 2017, we used to see volumes like, it could even reach like 1,000 Bitcoin a day of trading. So in terms of liquidity, we believe that the Malaysian market is hungry for crypto. We think it's only going to grow. So at this point of time, we're not like actively looking for market makers. We think the market is big enough to grow by itself.
For us, I think, in Luno's case, I think it's because they were the pioneer in the market. So obviously they have a lot of users, right? For us, we definitely do plan to do market making, and we do take liquidity from the main exchanges, which, you know, the Krakens of the world, the Bitstamps of the world. So we do actually market make the liquidity back to the Malaysian market. And as per our interview with Securities Commission, because if we are operating the market and you're doing market making, then there is a conflict of interest, right? So we're actually now working. We've actually completed the trading bot to do the market making in an automated manner, so that there won't be any human intervention.
We have a few market makers partners so far, so most likely they will on board to our Malaysia end and facilitate on the liquidity side.
It's about 15 minutes more to go. I mean, if any of you who wants to ask a question and can't reach out Slido, you can raise your hand and we can send a mic over to you. So yeah, can someone send a mic to Raj? Somewhere, excuse me?
Excuse me, there, yeah.
Thank you for that. It was pretty informative. I just have a question for all three of you. It looks like, despite pressure from the Federal Reserve Bank, with PayPal and Visa and MasterCard unplugging from Facebook's Libra association, it still looks like Zuckerberg will launch the Libra crypto coin in the middle of next year. In that regard, I have two questions. One, what is your view of the impact of such a coin on Bitcoin, given that Facebook has 2.2 billion users, and even a small portion of that is a big number? And number two, do you have any plans to provide liquidity for Libra for Malaysians?
Can I say if Libra is coming to Malaysia, we are the only platform that recognize they're only able to host it. Yeah. So
I think if Libra comes to Malaysia, I think none of you guys can support because at this point in time, you can only support Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP, right? So Libra has to be approved by Securities Commission before these guys can trade them. So at the moment, no, but in the future, maybe. You guys got an opinion on the other question? I have an opinion. I can answer that.
My opinion is that Libra is good for the crypto industry. It's good for Bitcoin as a whole because, like it or not, Bitcoin and crypto has developed a bad reputation over the years. I mean, if we're being honest. But when Facebook comes into the game, no doubt Facebook reputation also not that good lah. But at least Facebook coming into game sort of lends more legitimacy for a lot of people from the consumer side of things, right? Now people are taking notice. They're like, oh, Facebook is also thinking about cryptocurrency. So I think that is good in terms of adoption of cryptocurrency worldwide. People will get used to the idea of digital tokens. People get used to the idea of peer-to-peer money transfers. So I think that's good for the industry. As to the second question, I mean, if Facebook coin does launch, I mean, I'm sure all of us would be interested to speak to the SE and say, can we start talking about listing it? Because it's definitely something we see as positive.
Yeah, I think for me, I see Libra coin and also Bitcoin a bit different because if you check the fundamental of Libra, it's backed by a few basket of currency. So it's more, they actually want to be a cryptocurrency kind of crypto. But Bitcoin currently is more a storage of value and they are more, speculation assets. So I see this as a two product. But will Libra help Bitcoin? My answer is I'm very bullish on that because currently crypto community, I think we are looking around 50 million users only. I'm not sure the stats, but please correct me if someone knows the right number. But Facebook now, they have 2 billion users. So this actually, accelerate the whole crypto games, the crypto landscape, and widen the whole vertical. So I definitely see this as a good thing for crypto community.
Yeah, actually, my point of view is actually Chiu said everything. I mean, Libra essentially is a wrapper for fiat currency. Instead of wrapping USD, it wraps USD, Japanese yen, British pounds, and Singapore dollars, and it's just a proportionate basket of coins. It's not really the same purpose. I guess Facebook's main aim of launching Libra is as a payment method to compete against WeChat's WeChat Pay, and they want a payment system that works for the rest of the world. And whereas Bitcoin's main utility is, I would say, storage of value, and Facebook Libra will be more payments, transfers and all. I think Facebook's Libra, if it does launch, that's a big if, it's actually very beneficial because it will provide a lot of publicity and be a massive on-ramp for the mass market to get into. Once you have Libra, it's trivial to convert the Libra token into a Bitcoin, and then it will be a big bull run to Bitcoin and all. Massive on-ramp for cryptocurrencies, I would say. So anyone's got questions, you can raise your hands. Yep, you can send the mic over here to this lady in front.
Hi, just a question. I'm just wondering, right, because I think Aaron mentioned earlier, it's actually quite hard to get into cryptocurrency investing. And there's a lot of mumbo-jumbo jargons. First, you have to learn about blockchain, then you have to learn about what hard fork is, what kind of calculations are going on and whatever. So I'm just wondering, do you see an increase of demand and participation among Malaysians to begin with? I mean, even if there's approval or no approval, it doesn't necessarily translate to an increased amount of cryptocurrency investors here in Malaysia. So do you really see an increase in interest among Malaysians to start investing in cryptocurrency? And I understand that you guys will have to do some sort of education exercises as well. When is it going to happen and in what form would it take? Yeah.
Obviously, the education part is important. I mean, I come from Penang, and Penang is known to be a hotspot for JJPTR, money games. I think there was one company recently that was in the news, and they had like 26 different tokens. So education, I would say, is 60% of our marketing initiative. Just now when we had that short discussion, I think our plan is to actually, maybe have like small food trucks, looking truck that we can use and go into different cities and all that and start to educate people. The adoption, I think, will happen naturally. I was talking to David from Luno on Saturday, and he said because he travels in the region a lot, and less than 1 to 2%, So obviously there's a lot of room for growth. Maybe what it takes is the next stock market collapse to happen, and then crypto as an asset class maintains its value, and then people will start to take it seriously.
I'm going to add on, I think in terms of education, it's no different from the stock market, right? If you think about, if you want to invest in the stock market, then why is, for example, you come in and why is AirAsia worth the price it is at this point in time? Why is Sime Darby Berhad worth the price it is at this point in time? And there's a bunch of ratio, right? A bunch of valuation metrics, free cash flow, PE ratio, and all these other mumbo jumbo as well, which you can say for the stock market. And people have to educate themselves. If you want to trade profitably, you have to learn. If you don't know, you're basically almost gambling in this market. And that's it. And I think adding on to Kelvin's point of view, if you think about it, the crypto market is actually really small, and then the potential opportunity for growth is really high. Obviously, I'm bullish, I'm biased. But the point is, if you think about the future where the young people don't trade stocks anymore, but they choose to trade crypto assets, I guess as these guys grow older and they gain more money in the future, like the potential for them to invest more in the crypto assets will grow significantly more. And there's a lot of opportunities for growth. That's my point of view.
Yeah. And I think recently someone just asked me, the differentiation between Bitcoin and gold. But I like to compare Bitcoin with the earlier days of Google, the Amazons. So like now you really cannot see, back in before 2000, if I told you you can actually buy books online, you would think that I'm crazy. The bookstore, it's just so many shops along the street. Why I have to go to the internet to buy books? But 20 years later, we cannot live without Amazon. We cannot live without Google's. So yeah, take it as early days of the investment for this kind of unicorns. Yep.
There are also a lot of data points that seem to be pointing that younger generation, for some reason, for whatever reason, they actually quite open and they quite like the concept of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. Again, maybe going back to Chiyu's point, they're used to gaming, they're used to tokens, electronic stuff, digital. I imagine for them, maybe they look at stock market as a bit strange, or they even look like traditional assets like a little bit strange, and they're somehow more comfortable. We may not know exactly why, but we can see that the demographics are very clear that younger investors are really very open to this kind of new forms of investment. So it's not to say just our opinion, but I think it's backed by a lot of data and research as well.
Okay, we have 7 minutes to go. Maybe time for 2 questions. Gentleman at the back. Yep.
Hi guys. Just one. Comparisons are often drawn between gold and Bitcoin. What makes Bitcoin superior to gold?
Back to my statement just now. So for gold, to be honest, if I would like to ask you what is the maximum supply for gold, I think it's very hard for any one of us to tell us the number. The maximum we can share is maybe the market cap based on the circulation supply times the last price. So that's all. But for Bitcoin, everything is very transparent. You know how many units are there circulating in the market, and maximum how many Bitcoins only available to the market. So on the scarcity and also on the data points, everything is providing to you. So for that, scarcity plus also the portability, like gold, how many of us now we actually exposed to gold? Anyone have gold right now, or invest to gold? Yeah, so I think that's the downside. But at least on the Bitcoin, you can have 4 of us, at least we have exposure already. So I think that's a good stats, right? So, yeah.
I mean, Chiyu mentioned a bit about the portability. So the portability and transparency, like we know exactly, I mean, sort of Bitcoin is stored on the blockchain ledger. Even if you lose your key, if you have a backup somewhere, you can always retain ownership. Whereas it's a little bit hard if you have that 1 kg of gold to bring it around or to store it. There's a lot of security concerns. There's a lot of portability concerns. And perhaps today, Bitcoin isn't used very much as a payment method, but we do foresee with other solutions coming in, Bitcoin may one day be used to make payment, whereas I think it would be a bit far-fetched to say that gold will be used to make small payments one day, because gold is actually a reserve currency.
On the portability part, I mean, I know this is a bit cliche, but if one day men do go to the moon and live there, obviously we're not gonna carry gold bars there, right?
So yeah, I think a lot of people compare Bitcoin as like the new form of digital gold, digital version of gold, I guess. I think two things are clear. Like we know for a fact that there will only be a maximum of 21 million coins, nothing more, nothing less. So that the number is fixed. We know it's a fixed supply. I guess second part is very you don't have storage costs, or the storage cost is relatively low when you hold Bitcoin compared to gold. You have voting costs for gold and all. And then portable, these guys brought up a lot of these points. You can't really move gold around the world. It's not that simple. You can't carry 1 kilogram of gold bar to the airport and bring it across to the next country. Whereas in Bitcoin, technically, nobody really knows. It lives online. Not so legal, but and then also the part is it's divisibility. You cannot really divide gold. Like, I mean, I guess you can, small part, but it's relatively hard. Whereas Bitcoin is very easily divisible to 8 decimal points. Of course, Bitcoin is unique. If you look at the other crypto assets that these guys are allowed to trade, XRP and Ethereum, they don't technically show a lot of similar qualities as Bitcoin. Ethereum, for example, has no fixed supply. Its supply goes to infinite, so it doesn't really display properties of gold with a fixed supply. XRP has $1 billion in supply, but it's created out of thin air by this company called Ripple Labs, and it's then distributed worldwide. So yeah, it's not although there are 5,000 over digital assets, not every single one is the same as gold. I guess Bitcoin is the only one that has the closest comparison to gold. Okay, time for one last question. Gentleman in the front, yeah.
Hi, yeah, I just want to ask whether any of the exchanges will have a physical presence, like, for example, an office that a customer can actually walk in and, open an account, do AML, KYC, and also withdraw possibly cash. And also, do you foresee that any one of you would establish a network of Bitcoin ATMs?
I'll answer the question about the physical sort of store, or maybe even like a physical service center, like maybe a Maxis service center. We are looking at the idea, but there are some security concerns, as in we probably won't get into the Bitcoin ATM kind of thing, because I think there's physical risk to someone walking into your store and then like exchanging money and taking a bundle of cash out. So I do think we will lean more on the virtual solutions, but I do see a lot of value in like allowing face-to-face conversations for KYC, customer support. So definitely something we're looking at there.
No plans for cash deposits or withdrawals. So ATM, also to be honest, no plans for that.
Yeah, not in our roadmap yet, but we are open to see all the opportunities ahead. We might have some exhibitions in futures that will support on-spot KYC and also onboarding, but when we launch. Yeah.
All right, I guess that's all the time we have today. So thank you very much, Aaron, Kelvin, and Chiu.
Thank you, Bobby.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.